Hospital staff failed to recognize a nerve injury following a dislocated shoulder. Would you like to learn what happened and why this gentleman lost total use of his arm as a result of that? Come join me as I share with you this remarkable story. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury trial lawyer practicing law here in the state of New York. The gentleman was horsing around with a friend and wound up dislocating his shoulder. He goes to a local emergency room, and there the doctor tries to put back in his shoulder. The problem was this guy was a bodybuilder. His big muscles, and now it was really tough to get his arm into the position right back into the socket. So now they wind up calling one doctor after the next. There are 5 doctors working on this guy, trying to manipulate and reposition his shoulder to get it into the right socket. Finally, after an hour of doing this, it works. The problem was that as a result of all this manipulation, his shoulder blew up. The swelling was tremendous. So they decided to keep the patient overnight, and that's exactly what they did. But during the early morning hours, the patient noticed something remarkable. He noticed that he began to have tingling and numbness in the tips of his fingers. And that was an early warning sign, and he communicated that to the nurse on duty. But the nurse on duty didn't think very much of it, until she came back a little while later, and again he said, you know, this tingling and numbness is getting worse. The doctor who's reading and interpreting this MRI realized that there's a tremendous buildup of fluid around the area where the manipulation occurred. And what was occurring was that was putting pressure on the main nerve in the shoulder and down into the armpit area. And now they had to take this patient to the emergency room immediately in order to try and relieve that pressure. So now they close the patient up, and the swelling continues and continues. But by this point, all that swelling literally killed off most of the nerve. So now that nerve controlled the blood supply to the patient's arm, to his muscles. And over the course of many months, his arm became atrophied and literally useless. So he had virtually no use of his arm. My experts tell me that if the patient had been properly evaluated at the time he complained of the tingling and the numbness and been acted on at that point, now they would have been able to save the nerve, and he never would have had the severe problem that he did to make his arm totally useless. The doctors and the hospital involved refused to acknowledge the fact that they did anything wrong or even violated the basic standards of medical care. And it wasn't until we were told to go pick a jury. That's when the defense turned around and said, you know what? It's time that we start negotiating. We wound up settling that case for $1 million. But the tragedy is this was entirely preventable. You know, I realize you're watching this video because you have questions or concerns about your own particular matter. Well, if your matter happened here in the state of New York and you do have legal questions, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. I can answer your legal questions. This is something I do every single day, and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, @ Oginski-law.com. That's it for today's quick video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.